Well, thank you once again for all your feedback on the conversations to date. And thanks for sharing your memories of performing in the Town Hall and the Arts Centre and the Parochial Hall. Keep those memories coming. My guest today has, like so many, given hours of her life to the theatre in Newry. A member of the Newry Musical Society for 47 years, she's performed in the chorus and sung many leading roles. She's equally comfortable delivering a rousing ballad, a gentle love song, or getting hoisted onto the top bunk in a bunk bed in a caravan on the stage. She's appeared with Newpoint Players and is a resident strolling actress with the Panto Players and performed with choirs and as a solo singer. In recent years, she's become a part of the dynamic duo, along with Charlie Smyth, driving the energy in Newry Panto. And she'll still be there to step onto the stage in any costume to make an audience laugh when required. As the first woman to chair the Newry Musical Society, she wrote in the 1996 programme for Hello Dolly that the hard work, dedication and teamwork displayed by all associated with the society over the last few weeks and months would not allow you to leave the theatre tonight not having a great time. On stage and backstage, she works hard to welcome all to her second home, the Newry Town Hall, and to make sure that it's a fantastic experience. Catherine Farrell.
There was always music in our house. Music was on from morning to night. Daddy loved the Nat King Coles, Frank Sinatra's, Dean Martin's. So, you know what I mean? Whilst all the 70s music was going on to the side, at home here, we would have been getting all that, a very varied type of music. So a love for it was always there. Daddy loved to sing, great singer. Mommy loved to sing. She sang in the school choir, a bit like us. You know, when we went into primary school, we went into the choir and we sang with them, and Sister Malachy did her bit. So it seemed to be that you just constantly found yourself moving from one place where there was music to another, and it just happened. You know, from there in school, I remember going into the pantomimes up in the Bosco and Lennon Hall Square, and we went up there and rehearsed the pantomimes with Charlie and Sean, and then that was that. Then I went to St. Mary's High School, it is now, but I then did a show called Waltzes from Vienna, and I played Mitzi, the maid. Miss Connolly up in the school just thought, Catherine, you can sing this. And she, like, it was the Thundering Lightning polka was the music, but the words were put to that music, and it wasn't easy to sing, but we did. So that happened. And then after that, I just had a great love for musicals. And so naturally enough, you know what I mean? As you said earlier, we were talking about Ethna Bell, Ethna Morgan, as I knew her. She was in the Musical Society, and I joined the Musical Society as well, along with, oh my goodness, a load of young people. We joined up and did South Pacific. And it's now 47 years later, and I'm still a member of the Musical Society.
47 years, that is some contribution to make to the Musical Society of Newry, never mind to the Newry Musical Society. When you go back to those days in the primary school then, and the choirs, did your choir sing in the fish?
They did indeed, yes. Sister Malachy was our music teacher in St. Joseph's Primary School. And it's funny, we, you know, some of the cups were, you know, you won them year on year, but if you were the choir won for 3 consecutive years, you got to keep it. So the school anyway did 2 of the years, and the first 2 years I was in the choir, and then we became a little too old for the particular area. And it happened that my sister's class took over, and they went and they lost the cup the next year. So we were furious because they only had to win it that year, and the school would have got to keep it, but we didn't, you know. And coincidentally, our Magella, that's who was in the choir when they didn't win it.
You don't hold any grudges, do you?
Not a bit of it. But Magella, whenever we went up to the Bosco to join up with the pantomime, Anne McAteer was then the principal boy in the pantomime. She was my mummy's sister's daughter, and she was and that's how we all ended up there in the pantomime and that. But Magella, whenever we went into it the very first year, we would have only been about 6 and 7. Yeah, I would have been the older one. And lo and behold, Charlie decided he wanted someone to sing a song. And in our house, it would always have been me that was kind of, lo and behold, they picked Magella to sing the song in the pantomime. Charlie did. And it was called I'm a Lonely Little Petunia in an Onion Patch. But it was a lovely wee song, and she was all dressed up as a flower. And we were saying that to Charlie here one night. I said, see that, says I, look at all I've done for you now. And I said, you chose our Magella to sing the song in the pantomime.
Going by that title, Catherine, I think it was a lucky escape.
Aye, indeed. Well, that was the only thing. The song wasn't that one, yes. But it was a nice song at the same time. Ethna, Magella, myself, Brona Jennings from Drummond, we all went to Mrs. Trodden, in Worm Point.
Yeah.
And God help her daddy, as she called Mr. Trodden, she'd say, Daddy, you have to hear the girls. So we'd be rehearsing for whatever fish we were doing. And there would always be maybe a bit of choir work as well, because we sang with the Dunamers as well.
So you're becoming immersed in music then when you were young.
Oh, totally, totally. And encouraged to do so. You know what I mean? Like Daddy, there were 7 of us. I'll say it very clear. There were 7 of us. So it probably wasn't easy finding them fees and monies, and much as it's not like the fees that God bless the parents pay now, but we were up and down on the bus to Warren Point. You had to go to fishes, you had to go to across the water. We went across to Chester, and I can't remember all the different places that we went to attend fishes over there. Then the fish in Newry, and then, as you know, all the fees that you pay for entry and stuff like that. So all of that was encouraged. Like, we weren't put off. In point of fact, our Magella used to be raging because she'd say, she comes up with the ideas and then I have to go too. But when she would go, but when she would go, she would enjoy it, Declan. Do you know what I mean? Like, I went into the Musical Society on my own, and she came for South Pacific. And the following year we did The Merry Widow, and herself and my mom came to Waterford with us to see the show in Waterford. Yeah. And the following year Magella joined up, because she enjoyed the people, she enjoyed and she, like me, has been in the Musical Society ever since as well.
People talk very fondly of the journey to, well, not necessarily the journey to Waterford, but the Waterford experience and taking part in the festival in Waterford, and the after show party as well, with the great sing-alongs in Waterford.
Great fun. The camaraderie was just wonderful. And some of the singers that you heard, that got up to sing and do their party pieces, Charlie would have called it, but I'll tell you a funny story that happened to me in Waterford, just aside from that. We travelled down to Dublin with Hello Dolly here, and we travelled down to Dublin the night before, stayed with some friends, and then went on down to Waterford the next day. So I arrived a bit earlier than all the others, and we stayed in like this big 4-story Victorian house. It was a Miss Ellison, I think, was the lady's name. And in any case, I was shown the room, but I was right at the top of the house. And whenever I thought, well, I'll have a lie down and I'll be ready, as you say, for the party that night, whichever company it was and all the rest of it. And but there was this loud banging for a while. I thought, what is that? And this is the next thing, I'm lying on the bed, and the next thing, this man, there was a loud bang, and this man came through the ceiling. Now you're talking about these 13-foot, rooms, those big ceilings away up in the. And I screamed because it scared the life out of me, because all of the ceiling was coming down around the bed and me, and I took off like a bullet. And I don't know what I did, but I got down, his legs were all hanging down, the poor man. And I took off like a bullet. And at the bottom of the stairs, I heard this person say, "Are you all right, dear?" And I wasn't really going for anybody. He scared the life out of me. I said, yes, I was just going for help. And looking up, came back up again, and it panned out that he was working on the pipes in the roof space. And he lost his footing, and that's how he came through the ceiling. We're looking up at this hole in the room, and he's saying to me, don't you say anything to Miss Ellison, I'll get this sorted out. And I just thought, hole in the ceiling, how do I not say it, So as it panned out, Declan, I said to him, listen, I'll go for a walk while you sort out whatever.
Yeah.
And I went for a walk, but on the way down, I met Anne, the girl that would have helped in the house. And I said, Anne, that gentleman's fallen through the ceiling up there. But that wasn't the end of it. The nice bit that finished it all off was that when I went into the party that night, in front of me was this beautiful box of milk tray with a little card on it, with a little man drawn on it with his legs falling out of the ceiling. And it said, all because the lady loves milk tray.
Ah, brilliant. Well done.
Somebody
Well
else.
done. Yeah, yeah, well done. So the musical society, did that lead into the Panto, or the two things in parallel for you?
Initially, I played in Babes in the Wood. I think it was the pantomime that I went out to play for him, and that it was a long, long time ago now. And then he said to me, would I help with the children, you know? And I sort of thought, right, okay. Well, you know, he says, just with the music and sort of keeping them going and whatnot. So we were still out the road, you know what I mean, in Glenhall. And it just went on from there. If there was a part, like, for instance, you know, I would dress up as the fairy, like, you know what I mean, every so often, and, you know, get out and do a bit of that and get into my white tights. So anything like that, I'll do a bit, but I love what I do. I didn't think, I will say that to you, that at one stage, even with the musical society, because I loved the music so much, I loved playing the parts and I loved the drama and everything. But you know what? I have enjoyed every bit as much the backstage stuff and with the children and working with the guys and working with the crews. And you know, it's just been a pleasure everywhere. And it gave me a real eye-opening that, you know what I mean, the be-all and the end-all wasn't being out the front, you know, playing a part and singing, much as I did love it, you know what I mean, and loved to sing a song, and you know what I mean, and just did. But yeah, the pantomime then gave you a whole new area of drama.
Yeah.
So it did, because as you know yourself, you know what I mean, it's nothing like doing a straight play, like say, like the field, or indeed for anything that I would have done in musical society. You really have to learn your job there. You know what I mean? How to, as Charlie says, hold an audience. And as he would say to us, you know what I mean? If the crisp packets come out, forget about it. You've lost them.
You have lost them. You have lost them. But
Yeah.
I mean, you're right when you say that about and every show is every person involved in it pulling their weight, bringing their contribution, bringing the best of their talents to it, and that's what makes them fly, makes them work, and makes them enjoyable.
And the smell of the town hall. You always feel, I do. I'm sure it's the same for all of us that have spent our lives in the town hall. You know what I mean? It's a home from home for us. It just is.
And that sense of space, I think it's an incredible building. It's an incredible space. Having that in the middle of the town is absolutely brilliant.
Oh, totally, totally. And something that we should treasure and really never lose the use of it. One of the things, again, Mrs. Tron used to say, you need to hit the back wall. And if you can't hear your voice hitting, and get over an orchestra, and you know, whenever you went in and played them with the musical side, all that stuff that you learned with her was so vital, because she would say hit the back of the wall, but all at that stage, you know what I mean, it would have been Doreen Auguste that was playing for us in the place, as you know, then. So, but when you actually did get an orchestra in front of you and you had to rise your voice up, because for many's and many's a year, we didn't have mics or anything like that to thing. We had to do it all ourselves. And I know I talked about that. You said it very eloquently about all those people, you know, backstage and every part of it, you know, and sometimes I feel they don't get the right recognition for all of that, because they are what makes us look good. You know what I mean? All the beautiful sets that people have made down the years. Just the little things that they've gone to the bother of doing. And you sort of say, God, that made such a big difference. And thanks very much for doing that. You know, there were so many talented people, you know, the Quinns. I could name many things. Jerry McNulty made some wonderful sets down the years, you know what I mean? David Cunningham does production with the Musical Society. You know, there's lots of people that are so talented. And then we have a whole raft of them, you know what I mean? Yourself included, you know, but when you think about Declan Brady, you know, I can talk about the sister Edel who does the choreography. All those people are absolutely lighting people. I be in awe of all the stuff that they do, and that makes ultimately the show great. And pantomime in particular is one that where the family is just paramount. We have babes in arms that come with their parents, right up to their grannies and granddads, you know, all sitting in a row together with their children and their grandchildren and their great grandchildren.
It's the worrying time when those babes who are in arms are then part of the senior chorus that you know you're getting old.
Tell me about it. I have people now that are coming back that are telling me that their grannies, you know what I mean? This is my grandchild. And I'm right, okay, you were in the tiny tots, you know what I mean? Right through, you know.
Have you got a favourite musical?
My favourites probably of two were The Sound of Music, where I played the Mother Superior, and the other one was Carousel. You'll Never Walk Alone. Most beautiful song to sing. Just wonderful, very expressive. And just that ability that, you know, you say that when you know the audience are just listening and you sort of say, oh my goodness, the feeling you get, it's just, there's nothing like it, Declan. You know what I mean? When you know that, oh my goodness, this is lovely. I am enjoying this. And as you can see, I could nearly cry about it. But, you know, it's absolutely wonderful. And those shows, yeah, The Sound of Music and Carousel, I got a real kick out of. If you're living the scene, and you should be, you know what I mean, in order to be able to portray it to the audience. And if you do that, when you start to sing You'll Never Walk Alone to that girl and you're holding her, and oh my goodness, it's just unbelievable. The feeling that you get. And I know I sang it with the tears running down my face, you know what I mean? Because you just couldn't help but feel it. You know, it just was truly wonderful. The words are the most beautiful words. Sorry, I know but it just is. It's a wonderful song to sing.
Yeah, there was a time for me in Fiddler on the Roof, when you talk about far from the home I love, and I remember Sam Russell. I've talked about Sam a couple of times in these
Yeah.
conversations, but I keep coming back to Sam and Fiddler and how powerful a performance that was, and the tears in his eyes as the family started to break up, and you know how he knew that you may never see anyone again, and that for me was really powerful.
And that funny you should pick that. I used to stand at the side of the stage, and Geraldine Smyth, as I knew her, she was also in the Denamers with us. Geraldine sang Far from the Home I Love, you know, and it was Sam was on the stage, and I can tell you that when he held her at the end,
Yep.
you literally would have had to take his fingers off him. Like Geraldine couldn't get sometimes herself away from him because he was holding her so tight, tears tripping him, and he was trying all the time. She was trying to get his fingers away from thing to be able to create a space that she could actually pull herself away. It was unbelievable. Again, it's one of those things where, you know, once you get into it, and if you allow yourself to live it, and he did, and Geraldine, I have to say, beautifully, the last note that you did, and then he held her close, and I can tell you, it was just unbelievable theatre.
On another trajectory, then, probably not quite so emotionally challenging, Panto Players and the plays. And that has set and taken a whole life of its own in this last number of years. Because I know that they were there and Charlie would have done them, but now they've become part of the stable diet of that year of performances in the town.
And people will ask you all the time, when are you doing another play? You know, when are you doing another play? And sometimes, like at the moment, even I've had people even say to me, would you believe when I've been on a Zoom conference? Is there any time soon you will be doing one of your plays? Could you not do it on Zoom, you know? So it's funny how they do, but yes, they're wonderful. And they're a totally different, again, bits of theatre, you know, and again, like Charlie was great at teaching us all you know, like really, here's how. And if you're willing to learn, he's happy to teach. I always think that our comedy is very zany, you know. And I just said to Charlie, you need some weird women in your time. Because he'll say, you know, the way you women do this with your hair or whatever, you know. And I'll say, well, I know we do put it back because maybe it's in the way, but we're not doing it just because it's a, you know, the womanly thing to be doing or whatever, you know. And he'll also tell you to say something in a particular way or do something. And that's when I do say, like, really? You do know some weird ladies in your time, you know. But having said that, if you're willing to go with it, and you know, like I'm a big lady, and I was talking about like the fairies thing, but you know, when I think about the caravan one where Ailish and Rosalind are, you know, trying to push me up on the top of a bunk bed, you know, and have these big long knickers on me, and you know, and of course I could have been up at the bed, but every so often they were tugging me back, you know, for another bit of a laugh about falling off the bed.
Listen, Catherine, thank you very much for your 47 years of contribution to the Musical Society, and then the contribution that you and Charlie are making to the Panto and the Panto Players, and giving all of those young people an opportunity to be on the Newry stage and enjoy themselves, and an opportunity to everybody backstage to be creative with all the technical ends and the costume ends as well. We hope to hear you singing back on stage once we get out of all this as well. And we'll see if the face will allow you to reform the choir and see can you get 3 in a row and hold on to the trophy.
Oh gosh, you shouldn't. Now you've started. I'm sad again because you said that. Thanks, Declan. I love every minute of it. Thank you very much.